And so, good morning. Today's the day number 3, class number 3, and we're going to be talking about the Corona Emotional Complex. And so, as we can see here from what we're looking at a human brain, and we're going to break it down into 3 different brains that came and evolved at different periods of time, because that's going to allow us to really understand how we're feeling the way we're feeling. All the uncertainty that's coming from the jobs and the schools, and how am I going to plan for my lunch, and how are we actually going to deal with all this corona shifts. And there's people in event spaces, and there's people in public places, like there's DJs, and then there's bar managers, and everyone's being displaced. There's wedding planners that don't have access to people anymore, and now it's making us make new emotions, new predictions, and that's what emotions are. They are our brain's ability to predict what's actually happening based on going to the past. So if an emotion always looks to predict in its current moment going to the past, let's go to the past. And so the very earliest brain that we all have, that I have, that you have, and all 7 billion of us have, is the reptilian brain. This reptilian brain really talks about our ability to really just respond to stimulus, respond to the things that are happening to us. Back in the days, it was just about one thing. It was, this was dead and this is not dead. And that's all it was about. So it is constantly concerning, it only concerns itself with our ability to just stay alive. It doesn't understand anything else. It doesn't understand, reason. It doesn't understand thinking. But obviously there's a secondary brain, the mammalian brain, which they communicate very well. Also, the reptilian brain only responds to stimuli. So for instance, something happens to you, like you're driving and someone swerves into your lane. It's not your neocortex that responds, the red one, or your mammalian brain that responds. It also responds, it makes you feel something, but your reptilian brain is the one that's deciding if it's this death or is this not death. And everything that we go through, every stimulus, every change, again, there's that word again, constantly change, is going to affect our reptilian brain. And the reason why that's important is because we're receiving so much stimulus now. And everything's making us make new emotional decisions. But as we're going to go forward, we're going to see where that's happening. Because what we can see so far is that it is the reptilian brain that communicates with the outside brains. So it sends those messages out constantly. That's what its nature is. Because that is your nature. It's just survival. Am I going to be okay or am I not okay? Is this death or not death? And so that's very scary, because that's why we get scared, and that's why we're going through all these things. Because all of these changes are making us feel unsafe. We don't feel protected when our patterns of daily living are changing. We've all grown accustomed to waking up at a certain time and making sure we're at work. We've gotten so good at making sure emotions have very little say in our day-to-day life, so that everything has already a predictable outcome and we're all good. But in this moment of great change, it's making us have to change more constantly, or else we're going to experience that lack of safety. We're going to experience that separation, and none of us deserve to feel that way. So we'll move on. So next brain is the mammalian brain, right? The mammalian brain actually receives all the sensory input from the reptilian brain and actually breaks it down into, okay, so is this sad, or is this angry, or is this jealousy, or is this, what is this? In addition to that, it also governs our motivation system. It also governs our learning abilities, our short-term memory, and also the body's responses to danger. So like I said, the reptilian brain sends out a signal, death, no death, for anything that is uncertain, which is change, and change always makes us feel fear because we don't know what's coming next. Does that make sense? So that's what happens. And as the mammalian brain receives that information, then, which is the limbic system, then its only response is instinctual, based on the past. So it can only go to whatever you've been to in the past to try to predict what's going on. But if none of us have ever taken an emotional intelligence class, we're probably not very good at helping this brain make predictions. It just makes whatever it thinks, and there you go. And there's everyone. And everyone is now, we receive new information, whether it's from the president or new information from a new fear or the spread or the rate of change or how many deaths. There it is. And it starts sending off signals that make us feel very uncomfortable. And that's why, taking emotional intelligence and actually looking at it, as the Corona emotional complex, which we're going to get to next, where we are, but it's so important because it provides safety in helping us understand that it is our job to help our brain now, because we're not built for this. But we will be in about 50 years when emotional intelligence is commonplace. Then everybody will know, oh yeah, we have to do that, and it's just part of management. We need new tools, right? So when we were cavemen and we were hunting and we saw some rocks, but we knew that the rocks didn't penetrate the animal we were trying to hunt, someone got a great idea, and they said, let's chip away at it, and maybe it'll cut through, it'll pierce. And so that innovation, that constant creation is a part of who we are, and it's a part of our human innovation and change for the better, right? And so the mammalian brain, the blue brain, is a little bit more sophisticated, simply because it can create social emotions, it can create the maternal nurturance, so mothers. This is where this is the kind of brain that activates itself, that makes you feel all those beautiful feelings, also anger and frustration and so on. And so now we move on to the neocortex, right, which is actually divided, and there's more parts to this. This is a very simple way. So if you're in neuroscience, or if you're a doctor, or if you're in psychiatry, and you know more about this, it's simply because we just need a little bit, and then I think we can take steps forward. I think that always helps me, and hopefully it helps you. And so the neocortex brain measures the quality of our emotions, and it compares this to that, and it makes us advance in behavior, social connections as well. It helps us create the tools. This neocortex brain helps us create the tools, language, envisioning. It gives us our ability in consciousness. So if you're in meditation, there's some parts in the brain that can activate it. It's so beautiful, right? So the neocortex has that ability to come up with ideas and to practice new rituals, or to practice new practices, right? To say, this is important, I need to do this every day. But it can only do that if it knows that it needs to do that, right? And that's why we're having this class. Because in the Corona emotional complex, you deserve to wear your crown back. You deserve it. And so what we have to do is that we have to develop better rapport with ourselves, because if our reptilian brain, with all the change, a change in this, a change in that, change in job, my kids, how are they going to learn? How long is this going to last? It's sending off way too many signals. Way too many signals. And so what it's doing is disturbing the mammalian brain, so it creates way too much stress. That's why stress is our brain's inability to accurately predict. So let's get to it. What do we need to do? We have to use our awesome neocortex brain, which can create ideas, to say, oh, that's what I need to do? So it needs to start sending messages back to the reptilian brain. It needs to start sending messages back. No, reptilian brain, what's going on is that because I know that you're afraid, and because I know that there's so many different layers of fear, which in this book, or my book, My Worst Days Are the Best, which I'll give to everybody for free in a digital version. Just send me an email or go to our webpage, and I'll send it to you so we can do this work together. We have the Wheel of Feelings. And in the Wheel of Feelings, you get to see all the different feelings for fear. So you have insecure, you have anxious, you have scared, you have submissive, you have rejected. And those have different layers of inadequate and insufficient. And on the inside, because we feel so much and it's so nuanced, there's a difference between being distant, and then there's a difference between being hurt. And then there's also a difference between being disgruntled, meaning like unsatisfied with a specific outcome, but all of that is in the world of anger. So there are so many little tiny layers, right, in each of the core emotions. So that's what we need to start doing, is literally that. Because if I ask you, think of 10 different feelings, and let's just say a new change just happened. And if you can't think of the one that's accurate because you only have 10 in your toolbox, but in reality, there's over 200 different feelings. And that tells us that if you can only think of maybe 10 or 15, that's not even 10%. And if all of the feelings that you're using to identify what's happening to make your reptilian brain feel safe, I feel that, so we'll be finished. Then what we have to do is we have to simply start communicating back to our reptilian brain, letting it know what actually is taking place, because it feels so much, but it doesn't tell you what it's feeling. Only you can experience that. And so by using the wheel of feelings, allowing yourself to actually scratch off or use your emotions, which is doing something, transferring your energy in motion, transferring of energy. You get to scratch off exactly if you feel abandoned because you're sad, or if you feel depressed, or if you feel disappointed, or loathing, or infuriated. However you feel that, that's important for you to be able to do. And so in this moment, I hope you've learned something. Hope you can wear your crown back, because you deserve to wear it all the time. And in the Corona Emotional Complex, we're now able to see that it's our job to communicate back to it. Because if it's only communicating out to us and letting us know what's going on, we're not going to be very happy, because it's always about life and death. It's always a threat. It's always anything that's a change, which is unpredictable, creates fear, and that fear is a threat, and that threat takes away our safety, and now we're stressed out, and so on and so forth. But if we change our behavior and we say, wait a minute, reptilian brain, this is what's going on. I have the wheel of feelings. I have all 200 feelings laid out in front of me. Let me help you. Let me help myself develop better rapport using my awesome neocortex to send the information back accurately, because it needs all of that context. This is connected to the inner part, the stem on the inside. It's connected to so much of your central nervous system, which is basically governs your body, maybe even your body's health. Maybe even this might be causing you some aches and pains in other places that's starting to move. And honestly, if we can start doing this, then we can start teaching helping the reptilian brain feel safe. And when it feels safe, because it says, okay, look, this is what we're going through, reptilian brain, and you're breaking it down through that wheel of feelings that has all 200 feelings, you can go through the layers, because you might be feeling more than the 10 that you know. You might be feeling 20 or 40 or 50 because of the emotional overwhelm. And your reptilian brain needs to feel safe, because you're the one with the feelings inside of you, and it's your job to do this right now. And if you do that effectively with everything you got, and you color every little box, and you organize it, and you're able to see it, that's going to allow your reptilian brain to be happy, to feel safe. And that's when it's going to belong to itself. And once again, you'll understand that you matter, and that you're important, and that you're necessary, and that you're worthwhile, and that you deserve to now, again, start practicing new tools. We're like the cavemen again, but we're highly evolved, but now we need to continue to evolve on the inside. And so that's my wish for you. I hope the Corona Emotional Complex now makes a little bit more sense when you can break down your need to be able to do this and to love yourself by practicing creative emotional intelligence, which over the course of maybe next week, we'll start getting into the creative part. For right now, I just want you guys to begin to understand how your brain is predicting these emotions, and how it's our job to help it now make better predictions to make it feel safe. All right, guys? Thank you so much for watching. I know I ran a little bit over, but I think it's important. And so I'll see you tomorrow, 9:30 in the morning. Take care, guys.